Welcome back. You're watching NewsX World. My name is Vineet Malhotra. We start with the top headlines of today. Well, Pope Leo XIV is all set to hold his first private audience with Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky. This comes after his grand inaugural mass earlier today at the Vatican. Russia has reportedly launched the largest drone of the war targeting Ukraine after the first direct peace talks for over 3 years. Ukraine says it has downed 88 of 273 Russian drones fired, as President Trump says he would hold talks with Vladimir Putin and Zelensky on Monday. Israeli attacks have reportedly killed 125 Palestinians today, and according to the Hamas-run health ministry. Meanwhile, Hamas has proposed releasing 9 hostages for a 60-day truce as ceasefire talks continue in Qatar amid an intensifying Israeli offensive. And meanwhile, the Israeli military says it has successfully intercepted a ballistic missile fired from the Yemen Houthis. Air raid sirens were heard across parts of Israel, leading to the suspension of flights from Israel's main airport. Pakistan has announced it will send a delegation abroad to present its case for peace following the Pahalgam terror. It comes after India announced they would send a multi-party delegation to brief global leaders on its operation and stance against cross-border terrorism. A bomb has exploded near a California fertility clinic, killing one person. The FBI calls the deadly explosion terrorism, while police say the deadly blast was an apparent intentional act. A Mexican Navy trading ship has crashed into the Brooklyn Bridge in New York, leaving 2 people dead and multiple injured. Parts of the mast fell on the deck, and the Mexican Navy has confirmed the damage, and they say they are investigating the crash. South Korean presidential candidates are set to face off in the first televised debate ahead of an election on the 3rd of June. The vote will take place after former President Yoon Suk-yeol was impeached over his short-lived martial law declaration. Okay, we start with the top story. President Donald Trump says that he will speak with both Russian President Vladimir Putin and Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky on Monday in a bid to end what he called a bloodbath in Ukraine. In a post on Truth Social, Trump said that the Russia-Ukraine war is killing over 5,000 soldiers a week, and that he hopes Monday's calls will lead to a ceasefire. The first call with Putin is set for 10 a.m. Eastern Time. A conversation with Zelensky will follow, along with talks with some NATO leaders. The Kremlin confirmed the Putin call is being prepared, while Moscow has welcomed Trump's mediation, saying it supports the efforts towards peace. But obstacles remain. After stalled peace talks in Istanbul last week, Russia is still demanding that Ukraine withdraw from parts of its territory, a proposal Kyiv called unacceptable. Meanwhile, deadly violence continues. A Russian drone strike on Saturday killed 9 civilians aboard a bus in Ukraine's Sumy region. Ukraine also reported that nearly 300 Russian drones were launched this weekend alone. Trump has said he believes the real progress will only come through direct talks with Putin, and he's floated a potential summit. As both sides brace for calls, Trump posted, "Hopefully it will be a productive day. God bless us all." All right, Glenn Grant, ex-advisor to Defense Minister of Ukraine, is joining us at this point in time to shed more light to this development. Glenn Grant, appreciate you joining us. Well, Donald Trump is going to be speaking to both Vladimir Putin and Zelensky as well, and he's also said that there are around 4,000 to 5,000 soldiers dying every week because of this unnecessary war that has lasted for over 3 years. What do you think is going to be different this time around? Donald Trump has spoken to both Putin and Zelensky in the past as well. Why should this conversation be any different?
That is a very, very good question, sir. because Donald Trump has not shown any real intention of actually putting any pressure on Russia. And at the moment, the problem is that Russia is determined to get what it wants, which means four or possibly five regions of Ukraine, with Ukrainians actually withdrawing from those regions where they are, and it wants to get everything that it wants, and it doesn't show any sign of compromise. And my guess is that when Donald Trump talks to Putin tomorrow, that there will also be no compromise in that meeting from Putin, and that Putin will just lay the blame completely on Ukraine for not doing its part. So the big question tomorrow is Donald Trump going to go in there with enough brain to actually to understand that he's being played by Putin, or is he going to take what Putin says to him and then go back and try to bully Ukraine further? And to be honest, I don't know. I don't think anybody knows, because Donald Trump does make up his mind as he goes along on these things. So I think we just have to wait till tomorrow, and then see what happens. What is clear is that the Europeans have got no stomach for a fight, the European politicians, and that none of them are actually moving forward to show any real strength in supporting Ukraine.
And Mr. Grant, there is absolute bankruptcy of trust when it comes to Vladimir Zelensky and Putin as well. They don't trust each other. Even in fact, when Putin said that he's going to go for a ceasefire in the early month of May, Mr. Zelensky was very dismissive of that proposal as well. Even if Donald Trump comes out shining after these calls, what is the probability that what these two leaders are saying, which is Zelensky and Putin, is going to happen?
Very little, because the two sides are a long, long way apart. I mean, you have to remember that the war was started by Russia, and that Ukraine is fighting a battle for its life. And this is often forgotten, because Putin says, Ukraine invaded, or Trump says bad things about Ukraine. But the fact is, Ukraine is fighting for its life, its independence, and its sovereignty. And you know from the last weeks in India that you don't like things like that happening in India, and Ukraine likes it even less, considering how many people have been killed, large numbers. And how can Putin possibly be trusted when he's already had 28 ceasefires since 2014, and he's broken every single one of them? Not Ukrainians breaking them. It's been Russia, and Ukrainians have died because they've gone for a ceasefire when Russia hasn't. So there's no trust there from Zelensky. Putin has got to do something, actually do something, not speak, but do something to show that he actually means business. And so far, he hasn't done anything.
Mr. Grant, it's also important to understand what's NATO going to do about this? What are the European countries going to do about it? This all started with Ukraine wanting to be a part of NATO. Donald Trump wants to pull out of it. Zelensky wants to push himself into it. And Vladimir Putin is not going to allow that. Now, this seems to be a stalemate of sorts, which the world is not getting to wrap its head around. What are we supposed to expect from these back and forth meetings?
Well, I mean, the first thing is that this is nothing to do with NATO. Remember, NATO's been exactly where it is all the time. In Norway, it's right up against Russia. In Latvia, it's up against Russia. In Estonia, it's up against Russia. This is nothing to do with NATO. Oh, in America, it's up against Russia. So it's nothing to do with NATO. It's to do with power and the desire to take back Ukraine, because without Ukraine, Russia struggles. It struggles economically, and it struggles without its engineers and many other things. So I don't see that this is going to change at all, because Putin is going to want to keep those things going. Now, NATO as an organization is going to do nothing unless Putin actually crosses the boundary and goes and attacks a NATO country. The Europeans are going to do nothing because, frankly, they are weak politicians, and none of them actually wants to get involved more than they have to. I mean, even one or two of them are still struggling a little bit with Trump's request, sorry, for 5% of GDP, including one of those, including my own country, UK, which looks as though it's going to do a defence review on 2.5% of GDP. So I don't see anything is going to happen at all. I think we're just going to carry on getting more of the same.
I share that pessimism with you. Mr. Grant, appreciate you joining us. Thank you so much. Moving on, Yemeni rebel spokesman Yahya Sari claimed a ballistic missile strike on Israel's Ben Gurion airport caused panic, with thousands seeking shelter and halting air traffic for nearly an hour. Sari confirmed the use of two missiles, including a hypersonic Palestine 2 missile. Let's listen in to what the Houthi military spokesperson had to say.
نفذت القوة الصاروخية في القوات المسلحة اليمنية عملية عسكرية نوعية استهدفت مطار اللد المسمى إسرائيليا مطار بن غوريون في منطقة يافا المحتلة، وذلك بصاروخين باليستيين أحدهما فرط صوتي نوع فلسطين 2 والآخر ذو الفقار، وقد حققت العملية هدفها بنجاح.
And the Israeli military reported that it successfully intercepted a missile fired from Yemen towards Israel, prompting sirens to sound across central Israel. Local media claim a second missile launched from Yemen was attempted but failed in response. Israel's Ben Gurion International Airport has temporarily suspended all landings and takeoffs. Earlier this month, a ballistic missile launched by the Iran-backed Houthis hit the perimeter of the same airport, damaging a road and a vehicle and causing air traffic to stop for hours. Yemen's Houthis have continued to fire missiles at Israel in what they say is solidarity with Palestinians in Gaza, although they have agreed to halt attacks on US ships. All right, Peter Baum, foreign editor of the weekly Blitz, is joining us on the broadcast to talk more about this. Peter, appreciate you taking out the time and speaking with us. Well, it's a full-fledged war. Israel is, of course, trying to counter as much as interception as it can. But where do you see this conflict leading, considering the fact that more and more proxies are, being poised to take on Israel?
Good day to you, Vinny. Yes, the Houthis are currently the one military irritant that is causing issues within Israel. So far, Israel has managed to shoot down, intercept all the ballistic missiles that are coming forward from the Houthis in Yemen. One did manage to get through a couple of weeks ago and shut down Ben Gurion Airport for a while, and the Israelis have become used to this. Just before I came on air, I just wanted to make sure that I had my facts straight, and I have some information for your listeners and viewers, which I think may even be an exclusive for those listening in India. The Hamas leader, Mohammed Sinwar, the brother of Yahya Sinwar, is now confirmed dead. So Hamas effectively has no leadership in Gaza. So the Houthis are getting their instructions clearly from Iran. And I'm also being informed, as we speak as it happens, that negotiations are very strongly pointed to the fact that there will be a ceasefire between all parties in the next 48 hours. Now, we've been here before, I know, but Netanyahu has never been under so much pressure internally, domestically, to stop the war. And I think it's that is going to stop the Iranian proxies, the Houthis, from firing more missiles. If I am wrong, or if my sources are wrong in their assumption, then there is only one thing that Netanyahu can do, and that is to continue the bombing and diluting the power of the Houthis, which is an option to him if this ceasefire, as I've been told, is forthcoming in the next 48 hours, with the release of, I think, 9 hostages, doesn't bear fruition. So the Houthis, I think, will stop their intermittent ballistic firings should this 48-hour ceasefire come into fruition. If it doesn't, then I'm sure that the Netanyahu will ignore domestic opinion and continue with his war on Gaza and bomb Yemen.
Peter, how would you in fact categorize the events that are unfolding between the Americans and the Iranians as well when it comes to their nuclear policy? On one hand, Donald Trump extremely ambitious to put this war to an end. On the other hand, there is information being put out by the Americans that the nuclear treaty is somewhere on the verge of being agreed, but the Iranians have completely denounced any such confirmation. Where do you think this confusion is leading to when it comes to this conflict in Israel? Is it complicating it more?
I think it probably is, but there's some things that I must add in here. The Western media has, let's say, an agenda, if you like, at it being very, very anti-Trump. So the idea that there was any kind of agreement going forward between how the Iranians saw their nuclear weaponization progressing and how the Americans want it to go are two very entirely different things. Now, Donald Trump has surrounded himself with probably the most, I'm not going to say pro-Israel, but I'm going to say anti-Iranian administration of any American president. And I am pretty certain that the hawks within the administration will get their way, and Iran, which is currently being isolated, will have nowhere, will continue with its bullish rhetoric, but the Trump administration will either get Iran to get it where America wants it to be, or Iran's continued isolation will continue. And don't forget one other thing. What we don't seem to hear in the Western press is how much dissatisfaction there is internally in Iran, and some of these explosions that we've heard in the last few weeks undoubtedly have been created by Iranian domestic opposition. So Iran, despite its bluster and rhetoric about how it's going to rebuff Trump's desires for it to dilute its nuclear weaponization, have got their own problems domestically. And I think those domestic issues are not raising their head until such time as they see what the Trump administration is going to do.
Peter, appreciate you joining us. Thank you so much for your thoughts. Moving on, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer is working to strengthen the UK's ties with the EU, emphasising that closer relations will benefit UK jobs, reduce bills and ease border controls ahead of a key summit in London next week. The government is pushing for a major deal that could grant the United Kingdom access to a prominent EU defence fund. This follows a series of trade agreements with India and the US, showcasing Starmer's strategy of boosting the UK economy through global partnerships. The summit, marking the first bilateral talks since Brexit, is crucial as it represents a reset in UK-EU relations. Starmer is expected to crack a deal focusing on defence cooperation, trade barriers and possibly a youth mobility scheme. The UK hopes to access EU defence contracts while addressing issues like fishing rights and migration policies. This deal could open doors for UK companies in EU's new rearmament programme, signalling a major step towards deeper cooperation. However, challenges remain, particularly over EU fishing rights and migration concerns, but both sides are keen to make progress in light of global tensions. The outcome of this summit could reshape the future of UK-EU relations. Lord Remy Ranger, member of the House of Lords of UK, is joining us from London at this point in time. Lord Ranger, appreciate you being here with us. Well, Keir Starmer, of course, concerned that there are global concerns, there are global wars happening at the same time, and that is why this push towards the EU to get along with the United Kingdom, so in times of need, there is help. All right, he's not there with us, but Keir Starmer, of course, focusing on creating trade with a number of countries, including India as well, where the FTA was signed just a few days ago. Mr. Keir Starmer was extremely under pressure by his own government to make sure that this is done. Lord Remy Ranger, member of the House of Lords of the United Kingdom, joins us on the show. Sir, appreciate you being here with us. What does this mean for the United Kingdom? The fact that this outreach is pointing towards, a relook at the UK-EU relationship of bygone times is a good sign, isn't it? So, are you able to hear me?
No, it's a very poor line, boss. Very poor line. Sorry.
So, if you can hear me, well, what do you make of this information and this news coming in, sir, that Keir Starmer is going to address a number of issues, including fishing rights and migration with the European Union, sir? All right, there seems to be a problem with this audio, but we've run out of time. We'll take a short break. We'll continue to bring you news from around the world. Thank you for watching.